to go a little more white trashy up in my living room. And although it may look like I have actual walls in here, no, they're not. It's cardboard painted. So, just so you know. And, the fake fireplace it's a projector, so everybody understands that. You know how that goes. Welcome in, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm going to be streaming a live from last night. But at the same time, I'm going to be doing some stuff around the house. So, if you hear, like right now, I'm putting some stuff in my dishwasher. Please don't be offended by that. With my like total attention deficit disorder, which indeed I was diagnosed with, I can't sit still and not do anything for, hours, sometimes minutes at a time. So please bear. Playing alive from last night, and fake dishes. I'm pretending like they're dishes, but they're actually paper plates. And, I just throw it out. Fake silverware, the whole thing. I hope everybody is having a wonderful morning. It's a delightful 35 degrees here. It's been cloudy now for 3 days. My whole fake fuck. It's hilarious too. Florida Man says I have a fake house, yet he posted my house. That's weird. But whatever. So, I have been listening to lives that people have had regarding the whole thing with T and her husband. I've read the documents. I've listened to how people are trying to spin the documents to better fit what their agenda is and what their opinions are rather than facts. And I'm going to talk about that a little today. I wrote here for the live, and I actually, thanks to, I think it was, who was it? Don a couple nights ago, who told me how to change my, the name of the live. I did change it, and I'm going to talk about the hypocrisy today. I'm going to change my background right now because I just got a restriction, and I'm sure it's because of what, this is a good one, what I had in my mouth there. So let me, okay. I'm not going to restart it. I don't really care about that. But yeah, I did get a restriction, which makes sense. I just can't. Somebody remind me not to use that background. So I wanted to talk about that a little, and then I'm going to play. I'm going to play Florida Man's live from last night, so you can hear the ridiculousness of it. Now, I do not claim to be a scholar of the law, but I think there are some things that are understandable regarding the law and regarding allegations and charges that are on warrants that that are in play when somebody is wanted and when someone is arrested. So when the police do an investigation, they will list a number of criminal activities or charges that they believe the person is is guilty of. Now, in some cases, like with Florida Man's case, it's pretty cut and dry when you have video evidence and you have audio evidence and you have all that. So, that's one of the very rare situations where somebody who's not in custody yet but has charges and everybody can see what those charges are just by watching videos that are all over TikTok regarding his connection to this collectible store in Florida. I've heard some absolutely wild stories that are being spun around about how he was set up and who set him up, which is an absolute pile of crap. So you have something like that. And I absolutely do believe, as a lot of people say on here, that in the American criminal justice system, you are innocent until proven guilty. And it's funny because the supporters of FM say that all the time. Well, he hasn't been charged with anything yet. Yes, I saw the video. Peers decide what happened. Okay. I'll give them that. You know why? Because, so they want to say that they want to be, a Florida Man deserves, the proper, steps of the criminal justice system. And he should be afforded that, and he is innocent until proven guilty. Okay. So I've gone through the charges that Tangled put on Amanda Kay's live last week. There were 3 charges. And as I said, none of them are great. I mean, the 3 of them looked bad. And, as I said, even being found guilty of one is not so cool, So then I started listening to some of the lives. And I listened to, what T said about the charges. And the explanation of it. And then I heard the lives from the people that put this information out for no other reason than self-gratification for themselves to go after T. Now, again, T and I, we're not buddies. And it's funny how, it's all based on what Florida Man did on her live. But I've always said that, I don't care if I like somebody or not. If something is bullshit, I'm going to call it out. So he had 3 charges. And the one that they keep focusing in on is the SA of a 15-year-old. So in their position with Florida Man, he is innocent until proven guilty. But see, that doesn't fucking go on for them because Mr. T was charged with kidnapping. That's the only thing that he caught a criminal charge for. Everything else was thrown out. Now, don't you think if there was enough evidence to prove that he SA'd a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old, the prosecutors would have gone hard for that and they would not have made a deal? I mean, does that make any sense to anybody? But you're gonna hear Mike's infinite wisdom on this when I play his live. Any prosecutor anywhere in the United States will absolutely try somebody for SA on a minor. They won't make a deal and not put anything on the disposition of a case. They won't say, oh, well, we know you did this, but we're going to throw it out and we're just going to charge you for kidnapping. So what happens when a charge is thrown out? Why does that happen? It happens because, number one, there isn't enough evidence to criminally charge somebody with it, or the victim is not credible. Now, we know based on what T said, Mr. T dropped his girlfriend's daughter off at a friend's house. And Mr. T went to work, and because of all the bullshit, he told this woman, I'm done. I can be wrong, but if there was a plea bargain, it would have been listed on the disposition. They would not have held that information. And think about this one too. If there was a plea bargain or he was found guilty of that, don't you think he would be on an offender registry list? I mean, because that is the law through all the 50 states. If you are convicted of that type of offense, you must register and you must be on an offender registry. Which he is not, by the way. What a shock. So, if there wasn't enough evidence for any number of reasons, how is a prosecution going to convict somebody of that? The answer is they couldn't. She could have dropped charges if paid off. Oh, come on. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of plausible reasons, but do you really think that that's the case? And who would they have paid off? The prosecution? So now the prosecution is in on this cover-up. Come on. I'm assuming that an essay of a 14 or 15-year-old would require being on a registry. Yeah, that's somebody just put in there. Victim doesn't have say on charges. Exactly. Because remember the whole thing with Jen when there were charges brought against her boyfriend. Okay? Jen, people were saying, oh, Jen's probably going to try to get those charges dropped. She has no say in it. Once the prosecution takes a case and they start building the case against the defendant, they have no more say on it. They can't say, oh, pull the charges. Oops, sorry. That is not possible. So, again, as T stated multiple times, after this whole thing with the daughter happened, he, didn't want to be with this woman, this family anymore. He was tired of it and he left. And it was only that night that the mom and the daughter went to the police. I mean, Has it been? Have there been cases before that people have lied about stuff like that? Yes. But I mean, listen, you want to base it on the mentality and the defense of what Florida man's buddies say, where they're only allegations until it goes to court and he's charged, then he's innocent. But they're saying, they're saying now that even though this case has been over with for 10 years and the case is closed, time has been spent in prison, the charges were dropped for most of them, and he made a plea deal for one, that's still not good enough. They don't believe it now. Make that make sense. How is it that a case that has already been closed, they don't believe that? But on the other side of the coin, they'll say innocent until proven guilty, which Mr. T went through, but they still don't believe it. And again, that is a glaring case of hypocrisy. I will say it again. The only reason why these charges were brought up and put out into the TikTok universe was only done because they wanted to take a stab at T. Period. That's it. No other reason. Amanda wants to cry victim over there saying, oh, well, I was threatened by Mr. T and, he has a history of it. And I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to hurt me. He threatened to hurt me. Shut the fuck up, Amanda. She sits over there all the time. Oh, everybody, pull up, pull up. I'll be sitting outside my mailbox. Oh, pull up, pull up. Miss Billy Badass. But somebody in the background on a live, on TikTok, on social media, makes a threat to her. And all of a sudden, we got to put this information out. We got to put this police report out because I'm scared and we need to get the truth out there. Bullshit. Good afternoon. Bull to the shit. Exactly. Exactly, hypocrisy. Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. How many times have you heard, well, if you're so afraid of him, don't talk about him? It's ridiculous. So I want to play this live from last night. Occasionally I will pause it to put in some 2 cents because I only heard the beginning. All I heard was like the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I need to play this one. Good afternoon, Dala. Again, I am broadcasting live from my fake living room with my fake fireplace. It's actually a set that I built just so people think I live in a house. I hope you enjoy Hope you enjoy the live in my fake place. I'm gonna play it. Let's listen, and I would love to hear if anybody has any reactions. If anybody wants to come up in a box, you're more than welcome to do that. Hold on, let me plug my iPad in here. Okay, iPad is charging. Fake live, yep.
Or 2.5 hours on the phone this morning with a former DA of Texas.
Okay, right then, I got to stop. So he was on the phone today, according to him, this was yesterday, for a couple hours with a former DA in Texas. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, that's as believable as everything you've ever put out about somebody where you've never shown a receipt. Former DA. Listen to when he clears his throat, too. I want you to start listening to that. Every time he does that, it's usually he just said a lie. Why didn't he record the call? Isn't that weird? He records everybody else's call, but he wouldn't record a call with a DA, a former DA of Texas, to show proof that, in fact, he spoke with somebody?
He was a DA for 12 years. Then I spent the better part of 5 hours fact-checking everything he said because, well, he could have just been some crackhead on the internet saying he was, but he was right about everything. Mm-hmm. Hey, Mush. Hey, Nikki. Hey, bitch witch. Hey, Carmen.
I love when he says hi to all the people coming into his live, so you can hear exactly the people that he's close to that he says hi to.
Hey, Conte. Hey, Ash. Now, anything I say here tonight, please go research it. Google is free. You can go to any law website. You can search for like DAs from Texas. Call them. Ask them a question. You can do the same thing I did. I encourage it. It's eye-opening.
Yeah. Sure, Florida man. And you know what? And in that same light, I highly recommend anybody who's interested to call a DA in Alachua County, Florida, if you're interested in his charges. I highly recommend that. They're a wealth of information, and it's an eye-opener.
It was my own time zone. Hey, Bougie. Yeah, I was. It was like 2.5 hours talking to him. Yeah. But it was even more fact-checking everything he said because, well, like I said, could have just been some crackhead like Guardians of Valor pretending to be one. But what he said lines up. Mm-hmm. Hey, Trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy.
Okay. So now let's, again, before we hear his bullshit, okay? There were 3 charges that Mr. T was charged with on his, when he was arrested. And at the end of the back and forth in the pretrial hearings, all that stuff, it all whittled down to one charge. And it was for the kidnapping charge. That's it. Period. There's no discussion on that. It is in black and white on the entire timeline of the proceeding for this case. So if they're going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, he made deals for the other charges, it doesn't fucking work like that. If he was actually guilty and there was enough evidence for the prosecution to move forward to convict him of essaying of a minor, do you think they would just sit there and say, fuck it, we're not going to charge you with that. Let's just do 9 years for kidnapping. Exactly. That's the most egregious charge. And again, they're saying, somebody said, well, what if there was a plea deal? If there was a plea deal with that, it would say that he was found guilty of it. He would have that charge. And I would find it very bizarre that if he was found guilty of that, he would not have to register on an offender's registry. And he's not on a registry. So let's listen to what Mr. Chat GPT had to say after that. So remember, he talked to a former DA here.
And I'm sure it's going to be some stuff that some of you may not know.
And stuff that he doesn't even know.
Like, did you know prosecutors have their own internal way to tag if somebody did commit an essay offense against a minor?
What? They have
They
have their own way of tagging? What the fuck does that mean? You spoke to a DA and that's what he told you? Oh, well, prosecutors have their own way of tagging. What the fuck does that mean? Yeah, that sounds like information you got from somebody who was in a DA for 12 years.
Hey, Gemini. I've already sent Gemini the notes. I'm sure if there was anything wrong, Gemini would have texted me and said, hey, this is wrong. But don't blame Gemini if I am wrong. I don't think I am. Based off of who I talked to and the 5 hours of research that I did. On top of that,
bullshit.
I can confidently say that it's eye-opening.
Get to the eye-opening stuff. Jesus Christ, Florida man. Ugh. He has to take so many fucking breaks when he talks.
Okay, we're going to get started. Notice there's 2 cases here. One of them is dismissed. One of them is disposed.
But wait a minute. Weren't there three? What about cases or charges? Two. Hold on.
They both happened on the same day. It's from the same event.
There were three charges. Exactly.
The 2 essay charges aggravated. The assault with a deadly weapon and the
4 charges. Okay.
Aggravated kidnapping is on one case. And on the second one, there is assault, serious bodily injury, and a felony too. Why there's two separate cases is because it was two separate indictments to the grand jury in Texas. And they returned, yes, charge them.
One he pled to and one was convicted. Okay.
There's no clear reason why they separated serious bodily injury, but the best explanation would be...
Oh, now listen. Now this is... Hold on. He said that he spoke to a DA. What did he say? What did he just say? The best explanation. Whose explanation is that? Because it sure as hell sounds like yours, Florida man. Doesn't sound like you heard this from a DA.
Because that would be a separate incident from the assault. A serious bodily injury was dismissed. But I'll tell you why it was dismissed. Dismissed does not mean innocent. Him pleading to the kidnapping does not mean innocent on everything else either.
Yeah, it does, because he wasn't charged with the other stuff. So you're going to say that your best explanation of it, Florida man, is because he pled to one charge, they threw other ones out, even though they had enough evidence, they still threw it out just because he pled. Are you fucking serious? What did your DA friend of 12, who was a DA for 12 years, how did he explain it? I hope you get to that part. Because we don't want to hear a fucking criminal on the run explaining criminal charges and what happens and how prosecutors have a secret tag and whatever the fuck that means. Exactly. They would throw out the lesser charges.
And there's a lot of shit I didn't know. And I'm sure it's going to be some stuff that some of you may not know.
We'll get to it already. You've been saying that.
Like, did you know prosecutors have their own internal way to tag if somebody did commit an SA offense against a minor?
What the fuck does that mean? So the prosecution's covering it up.
Hey, Kaylin. I did know that, Polly. I did. It's a handy thing to know, though, that you also can rent a wood chipper. United Rentals will deliver. The first one of you that gets a wood chipper rented and delivered to T's house, and she crashed out about it on live. I will go live and laugh.
Listen, I could use a wood chipper right now myself. I have a lot of branches I got to chop up. Oh my God, Florida man, fucking talk already.
We'll start in a couple minutes.
Jesus Christ. All the throat clearing and the coughing and the breathing heavy. Jesus. You are unlistenable.
There was 2 cases on that day. They have the same file date. They have the same arrest date. One of them is dismissed. One of them is disposed. I'm going to explain this whole thing. Please Google it. If you don't understand a part of it, ask a question. Anybody's welcome to a box.
But nobody needs to Google it, okay? Because, Florida man spoke to a former DA of 12 years. So I'm sure the DA explained everything to him, and everything he's telling you is the truth. So, don't Google it, you sheep.
I can confidently say that it's eye-opening.
You've said that now 5 times.
Okay, we're going to get started. Notice there's 2 cases here.
Yes, you've said that. Jesus.
One of them is dismissed. One of them is disposed. They both happened on the same day. It's from the same event.
For the 4th time, yes. Okay.
The 2 SA charges, aggravated.
Right.
The assault with a deadly weapon.
Right.
And the aggravated kidnapping.
And which one was he charged with?
And on the second one, there is assault, serious bodily injury, and a felony too.
And what was he charged with?
Why there's 2 separate cases is because it was 2 separate indictments to the grand jury in Texas. And they returned, yes, charge him.
And let's talk about that for a minute, okay? Remember, when a grand jury gets an indictment and there's charges, those are the charges that the police have figured out what could possibly have been committed by the person, okay? And that goes to the prosecution, and the prosecution will go through it to see with the evidence what they can hold the person with. So you see this all the time where somebody will have, like, not to compare the veracity of the cases, but somebody gets pulled over, okay, because they crossed the center line when they were driving. They get pulled over for a possibility of being under the influence. At the same time, they find the person has no license or insurance. The tags are bad. And then when they pull the person out, they see that there's open alcohol and maybe a bag of weed. Okay, so they're going to throw all these charges on there against this person. So what started out as a driving infraction now has turned into all this other stuff. Okay. What happens when that is going to go? They're going to throw out a ton of those. You know, the person will make a plea deal, and the prosecution will offer a plea deal. Listen, we will drop the no license, no insurance, but we're going to hold you. We're going to hold the charge for the weed, but you're going to get probation for that. You're not going to have to spend time. Oh, wait, is Monster in here? Please tell me Monster's in here. Oh, she's not? Damn it. So again, charges get plea dealed all the time. And let's think about this. Mike himself has said, oh, whenever I get charges for something, I always plea them down. I have a lawyer that always pleads them down. Always pleads them down, so I end up not getting held, against all those charges. It's a common thing.
There's no clear reason why they separated serious bodily injury, but the best explanation would be when
now this is his explanation. This is not
the state dropped counts 1 through 3 on the first indictment. He pled guilty. He didn't plead no contest. He pled guilty to count 4.
Right. Which is better than no contest because you're admitting you did it.
It gave the state a guaranteed felony. A guaranteed violent felony. And they dropped the second indictment as a whole.
Where he pled guilty to. Wow, that's terrible. Welcome up, T.
Morning.
If you have, I was going to say, if
I,
you have anything to add, please do.
yeah, I just wanted to clear something up. So I did not contact the victim. We worked in the same nursing home. I as CNA, she as housekeeper. She caused a scene and we exchanged words. I did not contact her for any reason.
Oh, see, now I don't even know what you're talking about. So what's the story behind
they say
that?
that I contacted the victim because I said I talked to her.
Oh my God, they will spin anything. Yeah. So again, he just admitted out of one charge that had one count on it and another charge that had 3 counts on it. All of them were dropped except one. Now remember, in Mike's theory and the people that support Mike, charges that somebody is brought up on, you are innocent until proven guilty. So of all 4 of these charges that Mike's talking about, 3 of them were dropped and 1 Mr. T pled guilty to. But see, now they're not going to accept that because that's not what they wanted to see. They wanted to paint Mr. T out as some deviant and some raging, assaulting lunatic that has been doing this for a long time. So everything Mike has done, he's innocent until the court case is taken care of. And then at that point, they'll probably, when Mike is put in prison, they'll probably say, oh, they'll make some excuse up for it. Mike didn't really do it. He got railroaded. But in this case, this whole court case has been completed, taken care of, disposed of years ago. But they still don't believe it. And, I find it interesting how if Mike supposedly spoke to this DA, why is he saying everything like it's his own opinion? And he's not standing 10 toes down for what he's saying.
That serious bodily injury. So after the plea is finalized, they drop the other one.
Say it. Why aren't you saying they dropped the SA charges?
Notice on the docket, the top one is the SA and the kidnapping. Notice how motions are being filed.
Right, which is normal.
Then there's a guilty plea.
Mm-hmm. What was the guilty plea for?
And then the case event, count 4, judgment, plea, guilty. Every single one of them say or no contest. The state of Texas would demand a guilty plea on that because no contest, you would be able to appeal it and say you never admitted guilt. So he would never be allowed to have a no contest plea on something like this.
What?
On assault SBI, notice it was disposed of. It was dismissed on 3/25/2002 when he would have already have been in prison. And that timeline adds up with it being a part of the plea deal. Because they will hold that over your head until you are safely in prison and out of any kind of appeal, timeline, anything. If you try to wiggle your way out of that agreement, they will nail you with a second one.
Whether that's here nor there, I don't even know what the fuck he's saying. But stop firing bullshit deflection here. He was found guilty on one thing and one thing only. And because it's not what you guys wanted him to be guilty of, you are slicing and dicing and picking apart every single word in the ruling that has already been completed for what, 14 years? More than that. 23 years, 22, whatever it is. Get over the fact that you guys look like a bunch of assholes for putting information out and putting it out as if he was guilty on everything. Just because y'all didn't do your homework. And because it didn't work out the way you wanted, now you're going to pick and choose. And Florida Man has to come to the rescue because Amanda and Tangled put information out and said it was accurate and it wasn't.
You can also do your research on that too. According to the person that I spoke to, the plea deal follows a predictable timeline.
Yeah, okay.
The first indictment builds pressure.
Oh, God.
Because they have everything for it already.
Right, which is normal.
As long as it did from the arrest date to the filing date, the investigation was done.
Mm-hmm. Right. They put a lot of charges out, and they know that some of them may not stick, but they put a bunch of charges out that he could be found guilty of if all the evidence points towards that. And then the prosecution will look at it and figure out, okay, what exactly do we have here? You know, what evidence do we have? We need to interview people, blah, 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 blah. He's got to get a lawyer. Lawyers have to talk. Prosecution has to talk, all that stuff. Yes, that's normal.
I know that.
He's Carrie, he's an asshole. That's what he is.
The two essay charges aggravated.
Yes.
The assault with a deadly weapon and the aggravated kidnapping is on one case. And on the second one, there is assault with serious bodily injury and a felony too.
Jesus Christ.
Why there's two separate cases is because it was two separate indictments to the grand jury in Texas. And they returned, yes, charge them.
Just like your charges, Mike, right? But again, your people will say, oh, but nothing's been proven yet. Nothing's been proven. He's innocent until proven guilty. And Mr. T has been proven innocent on 3 of the 4, but you're still trying to make a case that something shady happened and he actually did the shit. Make that make fucking sense. So they're only going to believe the legal system when it comes to Florida Man. but they're not going to trust the legal system when it's against somebody they don't like. Got it.
There's no clear reason why they separated serious bodily injury, but the best explanation would be when the victim tried to escape.
And Mike, is this what the former DA told you? Bullshit. This is you talking. Shut up. And there's no proof of that.
Would be a separate incident from the assault. A serious bodily injury was dismissed.
Everything.
But I'll tell you why it was dismissed.
Oh, wait. Let's hear it. Here's Mike. Remember, he spoke to a DA. Not once has he said, well, according to this, the DA explained to me. Notice, he hasn't said that yet. Oh, fungal. Hold on.
I can confidently say that it's eye-opening.
Oh, Jesus. I went backwards a little bit.
That's something that prosecutors take into consideration.
FM is live. Of course he is. Tell me you're pressed, Mike, without telling me you're pressed, huh?
So it is true. He only pled guilty to the aggravated kidnapping.
And that's what he was charged with. Exactly.
And that's common.
Right. So let Mike, do me a favor. You have an hour and 45 minutes left on this live. You know what you could say at this point? You know what you could say at this point, Mike? He pled guilty to one charge and the other ones were dropped. Period. That's the end of it. So the question is, what is he going to bullshit about for the next 1 hour and 41 minutes?
Against minors are pled out to kidnapping.
Bullshit.
Aggravated kidnapping. You'll see why. Because the aggravated part is important.
So he's saying that he pled down from SA to assault? What? I need to go back here.
Look, so
Sorry. Hold on, let me mute it.
If the DA is going to drop charges of SA, even though they have overwhelming evidence.
Exactly.
I feel pretty bad about our justice system that would let that go.
Listen, it's a pile of crap. Any prosecutor, given the charges that your husband was originally arrested for, okay, the number one that they would have wanted to hold him accountable for, based on evidence, would have been the SA. It would have been the SA.
Absolutely. They would have wanted him first to pay for that, and second to make sure he's on registry for life.
Exactly.
So people know who he is.
Exactly. So again, it's a whole thing, the whole justice system here. They're going to say they made wheels and deals, whatever he's saying about the prosecution as a way of tagging people. What the fuck? I mean, he's so full of shit, and he's going to, he just said he was charged with he pled guilty to one of the charges. That's it. You should have ended it there, Mike, because you were exactly right about that. He caught one charge, he pled guilty to it, and he served his time. So even though the criminal process has gone through and it's been taken care of and done for how long, which is what your own supporters and you say, innocent until proven guilty. And after, it goes to trial and all that, whatever happens, that is the legal system and that's how it works. So That's okay for you. And that's okay that your supporters say that about you, that right now you're innocent of your charges, even though we've seen all the video. But in a case that's how many years old that has already been adjudicated by the justice system and the time has been served and the documents are there for you to read exactly what he was found guilty of, that's still not good enough. So now you have to put your own fucking opinion and act like you're fucking Matlock and try to disclose information as to why somebody was really guilty of something when an entire justice system of prosecutors couldn't find it. Stop smoking, Mike. Jesus Christ, Mr. COPD.
Now, nothing that I'm saying here came from the DA in this case.
Because you never talked to one.
It would be against,
Oh, bullshit.
the ethics and all that.
No, it is not against whatever, as you just said, because he's no longer a DA. He could tell you everything. And he could tell you it's the fact if he was a real DA, because he's no longer working as a DA. No, he did not, tatted Pisces. Where does it say that? And I invited you up so I can clear it up with you, because it's so much easier to talk in a box than it is in the text, in the chat. He's showing paperwork? Okay. So if he's showing, I could show paperwork too. I could show paperwork. If it's real, maybe. If it's not, who knows? But even if he's showing paperwork, tatted Pisces, and listen, I invited you up here. Come on up. Because I'm not going to waste time going back and forth with somebody. Are you going to come up? You said you can't. Okay. Didn't you do this before in another live when I was live and I told you to come up and you didn't because you said you can't? Or was that somebody else? Getting your babies to bed. Okay. Okay. Let's look at it this way, tatted. He's showing paperwork. Who the fuck cares? It was 25 years ago, right? The criminal process went through already. He pled guilty to what he pled guilty to. If he's showing actual paperwork evidence, which who the fuck knows with him, it wasn't enough to convict Mr. T of those things, right? It's called deflection. He doesn't want to admit the fact that the case is over. There was no evidence to convict Mr. T of those things. So he's just going to keep showing stuff to try to make everybody look at something else that's shining. He does this all the time. The fact remains, the case was disposed how many years ago? The time was served. He pled guilty. The other charges were dropped. Period. Oh, here's another person. Okay. Jennifer, come on up. Why don't you educate us on it? Why is it when people say stuff in the chat, okay? Why don't you, Jennifer, come up and tell me what I'm missing? I'm serious. Come on. I beg somebody that has, that's standing with an opposing opinion of what I'm saying. Please come up and tell me about it. Okay. Yeah, listen, people, stop wasting my time. I want to play this. If you have something to say and you have proof of it, come up.
Really speak about details of the case. This is a random DA I found on the internet from a website where you can ask questions about law. And you might have to pay $12.99.
Thank you for coming up. How are you?
I'm good. I am. My questions are because he was showing whatever court paperwork. So I asked a question, and it is difficult to ask questions in your chat because you do get attacked. But my thing, it said I don't have the paperwork, so I can't show proof.
Okay.
So when people say show proof, I don't have it. I was just in his live listening, and
I get that. Okay, I'm sorry if I came across a little rough.
No, I understand. And you don't understand, or obviously because it's just whatever. That I also am like, wait a minute, if that is true and there was a pew pew involved, like why wouldn't that be part of? I don't know if it was a charge or it was part of the indictment, I guess. But why wouldn't that be a conviction? Because that's a big one,
Yeah.
So, and I guess I'm kind of I go like I asked this question earlier, and maybe it was filtered, but if this was, let's say, Sean that did this, would you defend him this much, or would you be on the other side of it? And
well, I mean, this is the way I look at it. Okay. First of all, Sean did do something like this.
okay.
And so, I mean, bringing him up is kind of weird because, he did.
Well, I'm saying just anybody that you cover.
Well, I mean, if I knew somebody and what somebody was doing was fake, like was putting out bullshit information, absolutely. I've stood up for Jen before on stuff that I thought was, ask T about it. She knows. I stood up for Jen before on stuff. Absolutely. When I didn't agree with her. I will stand up for some. I don't even know who you are, but if I knew enough that somebody was doing something to you and it was bullshit, and I knew the whole story and I looked at the information because somebody gave it to me, absolutely 100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, I stood up for Sean originally when somebody said he was a pedo. And I did a background check on him and I said, no, he didn't. But then I found out later it was because he was a minor. So yeah, absolutely I would, 100%. My point is this. Which is what he talks about and what his supporters talk about. They talk about you're innocent until proven guilty. Okay, and how are you proven guilty? By the court proceedings. Okay, the dialogue between your attorney, the prosecutors, you may be able to come up with a plea deal on some, and then why are some charges dropped? Some charges are dropped because there's not enough evidence to convict. So after all was said and done with this case, Mr. T pled to one thing and everything else was dropped. Do you really think that if there was enough evidence to prove that he essayed a minor, that they would have just dropped that? Or they would have let him pled down?
I wouldn't think so, no. And that's why I am trying to get, the full story, because he was showing stuff, and I know stuff can be altered and faked, and that was my question, and that's why, like I said, I was just asking questions. I'm not a keyboard warrior. I was just curious. That's all.
No, I agree with that. I look at the court documents and, listening to T, what she said, which lined up with the outcome of the case. And then I listen to what FM says, which everybody on this app knows. He is a bold-faced habitual liar. Okay, and how do I know this? I know this because of stuff he's put out on people, and I know because of stuff he's put out on me.
And I get that. But I need to drop. But thank you for explaining. I do appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for coming up.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye. As Sean would say, moving on. Let's get back to this here.
To have a conversation. But if the conversation is, if it piques their interest, well, it's just $12.99 for a 2.5-hour conversation, because apparently this is something that piques most prosecutors' interest, because it's something that a lot of people don't know.
But he does. Florida man knows it.
Trouble is green screening.
What he was charged with, and T, correct me if I'm wrong, he was charged with kidnapping. Is that what he pled guilty to?
I'm sorry.
What did Mr. T plead guilty to? The kidnapping?
Yes, to the aggravated kidnapping.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Picture of Regina right now. Oh, no, that's Regina. Hey, Gemini. I've already sent Gemini the notes. I'm sure if there was anything wrong, Gemini would have texted me and said, hey.
Gemini? You're going to ask Gemini. You're going to ask Gemini to see if your notes are wrong. She's the one who put the original information up, claiming that Mr. T was guilty of all that shit. You're going to ask her? Why are you going to ask her when you talk to a supposed DA?
This is wrong. But don't blame Gemini if I am wrong. I don't think I am. Based off of who I talked to and the 5 hours of research that I did.
Yeah.
On top of that, I can confidently say that it's eye-opening.
And you've said that 5 times now. What's eye-opening? Because nothing you've said is eye-opening. How about some facts, Mike? How about facts?
We're going to get started.
You don't know what facts are.
Notice there's two.
Oh, hold on a minute. I went backwards again.
Both of these indictments were one continuous criminal event. One right after the other. It happened. The prosecutor probably could have put 10 or 15 different indictments in. But
the prosecutor
they were very confident.
Probably could have, yeah.
The SA, because there was 2 felony 1 aggravated sexual assault charges on one indictment.
They were confident, but they never brought charges.
That means
got it.
That they had strong evidence that he did do it.
And why didn't they prosecute him? Why didn't they charge him with it?
You can also do your research on that too.
I'm going to skip ahead a little here because.
So when a DA includes two separate aggravated SA charges on a single indictment, it could mean multiple things. Multiple things happened during that assault. They normally will not charge two individual aggravated SA charges on a single indictment unless they have overwhelming evidence that will convict.
And let me pause for a minute. A grand jury is a group of people that charges are brought up and they review it and they decide whether or not there is enough evidence to charge somebody with those charges. Okay? And once a grand jury says yes, then the person can be arrested and then the prosecution starts digging into the case. Okay? It doesn't matter that a grand jury accepted all of those charges. It goes back, right, probable cause, not guilt. Exactly. It doesn't matter what the grand jury came up with. Yes, we know he was charged with those 4 counts. What do we also know based on fact? We know that in the end, he was charged with 1, which was the aggravated kidnapping, and that's what he pled guilty to. That's it. There's no hidden agenda here. I have no hidden agenda. I'm basing it on judicial facts of the case. I'm not trying to smear somebody just because I don't like them. Christina Lombardi, have you heard the whole case? I mean, you're sitting there making an assumption, but are you educated on all of the facts about the case? No, you're not asking. You made an assumption based on what you've heard that he was guilty of everything without knowing the facts. So, sit around and listen, Right. It was a 9-year sentence for the aggravated kidnapping. Exactly.
Person who is charged with it. Oh yeah, I'm good. My example is I got charged with organized crime.
Right, and you pled down. Because you lied to a judge. And I have that on a recording. You were going to get charged with organized crime because there were other people involved in it. And you lied to a judge and you said the other 2 people were not involved. It was all you. So really, Mike, I wouldn't be, using your criminal background as something to compare anything to, because lying to a judge is not a great flex.
It was reduced to receiving stolen property.
Because you lied to a judge.
That's because the evidence of it being organized crime was not there. The evidence was weak.
No, Mike, do you really need me to find that recording of you where you flexed that you had organized crime charges because there were 2 other people involved? And you knew if you lied to the judge and said it was only you, those charges would be dropped. Shut the fuck up, Mike. Your lies are catching up to you.
But the evidence of receiving stolen property was strong. I pled guilty to receiving stolen property. Was it organized crime? No. Could it technically have been seen as organized crime? Yes. Prosecutors will hit you with with what they believe.
Exactly. Just like the prosecutors in this
case. Then as time goes on and stuff comes out, evidence will either remain as strong as it did or it will weaken.
He just absolutely called himself out on it. Because he exactly explained what happens. They put a bunch of cases up against you. The ones that have weak evidence, they drop them. So it's in his life, that's due process. But in this case of Mr. T, something shady happened. Unbelievable.
And T's husband's case, the charges never got reduced.
What?
They stayed the same. 3 times the prosecutor set for a jury date. And it isn't just telling the court, hey, I want to set for a jury date. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind that. That means that the prosecutor had a cooperating witness and strong enough evidence, and that he was confident enough that he would win in a jury trial to set it for 3 different times and not reduce any charges. Evidence kept being disclosed on the docket.
Right.
Motions kept being filed.
Yep, which is normal. Mm-hmm. And?
All of that says is a sign that the state had strong enough evidence to convict him of all the things that he was accused of.
That's wrong. So then what happened, Mike? Let's hear your theory. Or is it going to take another hour and fucking 30 minutes?
The defense filed a motion for bail reduction.
That's deflection. That has nothing to do with anything. Go on.
He sat in jail the entire time until sentencing. The judge denied his bail reduction. Judges will reduce bail when the case is weaker.
Okay.
Judges will not reduce bail when evidence is strong against the person.
Okay. And?
If they have you, they have you. And they know they have you. Your case is not their first rodeo.
Oh my God.
They literally know how this is going to go. They can.
But the judge didn't because
witnesses. They have strong forensic evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a victim who is cooperating.
Hey T, isn't T?
Yes.
So if I'm not mistaken, they did a DNA swab on Mr. T, right?
Yes.
And even after they did that, they could not say that there was any type of SA.
Correct.
So now, what is he going to say? He's going to say that the DNA, they fucked up doing the DNA, and the prosecution couldn't charge him based on that. I mean,
well, I believe Florida Man says that the DNA is what he says.
Oh, so the DNA was his, and the prosecution decided, even though they had a slam dunk case with DNA on the victim, but they decided just not to charge him with that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
They're human. But no matter how much the victim is cooperating, it's still a child. And when it comes time to testify in front of all the people that you have to testify that you do not know, and you have to explain all the details of an event that is very traumatic, Cooperation means nothing. People show humanity and compassion to the victim.
Oh, Jesus.
Including
I could tell you how Mike is lying here, okay? So reportedly, allegedly, possibly, Mike's daddy did some not so good things to minors, okay? Allegedly. And I read through some of the case law on that case. And you know what's listed in that case? What's listed in that case, reportedly, allegedly, if it was him, and even if it wasn't his daddy, in that case, there were victims that refused to testify. And you know what was in the documents of that court case? There were documents that said the victim, Jane Doe, whatever, refused to testify. So that would be somewhere in paperwork. If those charges were dropped because a victim refused to testify, that would be put in the court documents. So where does it say that, Mike? In your 5 hours of research yesterday and your 2 hours on the phone with a former DA, does it say in the court case that the victim did not testify?
And sometimes humanity and compassion means making a deal with an evil person to shield that child from re-traumatization.
Yeah. Okay, Mike.
He pled guilty to a felony 1, aggravated kidnapping.
That's the truth, Mike. Congratulations on that.
It's one of the most serious violent felonies in the state of Texas.
Okay. And he admitted he did it and he served his
People
time.
don't plead guilty to felony 1, aggravated kidnapping, unless there's overwhelming evidence that will get them multiple convictions on multiple other felony 1 and 2 charges.
Bullshit. So you're implying, Mike, that he was guilty of all those other charges. And he pled guilty to the worst one in order to get out of the other 3? Is that really what you're implying? Because I'll tell you, if it was based on what you say a former DA told you, you would say that. Nothing you have said right now is based on what a former DA told you. It's your opinion. And everybody knows your opinion is an absolute pile of shit.
The defense attorney and Mr. T himself knew that a jury would destroy him.
And they knew this how, Mike? Were you there?
And you're only going to plead to a felony 1, aggravated kidnapping, if you have no viable defense.
So if there was enough evidence of the other 3, why didn't the prosecution continue through? Because if you have a slam dunk case on all those charges, the prosecution would not make a deal to give you lesser time when they know and they have proof that you did more egregious acts. So you're saying they put somebody like Mr. T in for only 9 years when they had enough evidence to put him in for much more than that. But the prosecution just decided to cut him a break? Shut the fuck up.
Hey.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right. I don't know what pisses me off more is that this sick son of a bitch is out.
Nikki, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares about your opinion. And you're wrong. And you look stupid because you're believing what Mike is saying rather than what the prosecution was able to hold against him. And you're the same one that said that Mike is presumed innocent until he's proven guilty by law. So with that same respect, Mr. T was proven guilty on one count and everything else was not charged. So what the do you need me to draw a fucking picture, you moron? Mike could tell Nikki that the sun is about to crash into the earth, and Nikki would say, "Where's the best place I could hide?"
Or that T contacted the victim and re-traumatized her.
Didn't happen, Nikki.
And is
Again,
defending this piece of shit.
you're full of shit, Nikki. And you look stupid.
Get to all of
Well, keep doing it because
the
you are
state gave him a
stupid.
mid-range sentence of 9 years. If the case were re, he would have got 2 or 3. He would have got some kind of deferred adjudication. He would have got charges dropped, dismissed, lowered, reduced, however you want to put it.
Which he did.
Something would have changed on the initial indictment if the case was weak.
Wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong, Mike. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The charges, now correct me if I'm wrong. The charges that go to a grand jury are based on the information that they have at the time that the crime is committed, correct?
Correct.
And then after a grand jury indicts somebody, they're arrested, and then that's when the investigation really starts kicking in, where the prosecution starts talking to the police. They start looking into the elements of the case. They look at the proof that has been given to them, and they either say, yes, we have enough to charge with this, or no, we need more evidence of this. Do you have any more evidence of this? Do you have this person doing this person saying that? Do you have that? No, we don't. Well, then we can't charge them with it.
Correct.
There's not enough evidence. Mike is not using the word evidence that much, I hear. He's not using that.
He would have got probation.
What?
He would have got something other than 9 years in state prison. And 9 years is a pretty serious sentence, honestly. It's a long time.
Yet he did his time, unlike you, right, Florida man? As you still run from an open warrant, is out there. And if you're
He would
innocent,
have gotten not 40 initially, is right.
remember you pled down, right, Mike?
The state gave him incentive to not force the victim to testify.
Oh, bullshit.
But they still punished him for the offenses.
Where does it say, Mike, that he's guilty of those offenses? Because the prosecution would not hide something like that. You can't legally hide it. There has to be some type of an answer based on each criminal charge as to what the disposition was. If they didn't want the victim to testify, or the victim didn't want to testify, there would be that caveat on there saying that the charges of the SA were dropped due to the victim not wanting to be part of, the case, to testify. It's not a secret that the prosecution made with the victim, and then they're not telling the defense about it. That's bullshit. If they don't have enough
And you can
evidence,
Google
they
this
don't
next
need the
part too.
victim to convict. Yeah, I've seen that
It's
also.
incredibly common when the state knows they can win and the defense knows they will lose to make a compromise to protect a minor victim in a case.
Bullshit. Because you know what, Mike? As somebody just said, the victim doesn't even need to be there. And they can even use a Jane Doe name. They wouldn't need to use the minor victim's real name. They wouldn't even need her to testify. They would be able to use notes from discussions with the victim and the victim's mother. They would be able to use DNA evidence to further convict a criminal of it, which they didn't have enough evidence, period. You're flailing, you're windmilling, you look like an asshole, Mike.
Right, Moshe. His pattern before this too.
His pattern before this too. So you're saying that he's essayed people before, he's kidnapped people before, really?
I bet he did hang with his kind in PC.
Another opinion.
I bet he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm clicking forward because he's just so fucking ridiculous to listen to.
For the sole purpose of, even if their client is convicted, they will be able to appeal it and win the appeal.
How would they be able to appeal it if he pled guilty? Why would he appeal something if he pled guilty to it? You appeal when you're convicted of something and you don't feel like you had the proper defense because your attorney dropped the ball. You only appeal if there's charges against you that you were convicted of that you think somehow there was a break, there was something that happened in your defense that didn't defend you properly. How do you appeal when you plead guilty? He's pressed about something that happened years ago because two people that have been on an absolute delusional hate campaign against T for months, where all they do is come on live and trash Dora and T, put this information out, thinking that, ooh, we have a slam dunk case here. Look at all the bad stuff Mr. T did. Ooh, he essayed somebody. Ooh, he essayed something. They kept pushing essay. And they did not do enough research to realize, in fact, he was not charged with that. And out of all the things he was charged with, he was only charged with one. So now Florida man, as usual, has to be Captain Save a Ho and come on and twist and turn everything because there are a bunch of sheep over there that believe everything he says without opening their ears and their eyes and doing their own research. And that's why he's doing it. Because these women hide behind him when they do stuff that's wrong. Yep, he pled down. He pled down to the one count, though.
And when you Google that part, that is a defense strategy for SA cases against minors, is for the defense attorney to traumatize and twist the words of the victim. So even if they lose the case, they can appeal it and the person gets off.
Pastor Petty, he had 4 charges and 3 charges were dropped. So you're trying to tell me that a prosecution has the charges to charge somebody with SA, but because he pled down, they're not going to charge him at all? That makes absolutely no sense. We don't, Pastor Petty, with all due respect, we don't need an explanation. I've read the paperwork from when the grand jury all the way through to the end after he served his time. If they had enough evidence to charge him with SA, they would have done it. They wouldn't have just said, oh, well, yeah, we're just going to hold him criminally negligent for the aggravated assault, even though we have enough evidence to charge him with SA of a minor. Nah.
If they're under 17, prosecutors will avoid at almost any cost.
Oh my God. DA knew the crime happened. They just looking for conviction. Bullshit. Bullshit. So they're going to throw away egregious crimes just because they want some type of a conviction? Yeah, because that's how the justice system works. They're going to throw away a slam dunk case on an essay of a minor just because they want to get a conviction and they can't get it. Come on.
Making them testify. They won't let the person off scot-free, but they will say, here is a reasonable deal. But the deal is symbolic as well, because 9 years is an odd number. Does anyone know why it was 9 years?
Becky, listen, I agree. I agree with you on that. And he did his time, right?
Right, Kyle. Hey, Sharon. According to the DA, it was 9 years because it's the highest, it's the maximum number and a single digit. And that if he didn't take that, he was going to get the maximum sentence from a jury. So it's take 9 years or take 99 years. One or the other. I was told it's the prosecutor's way of showing confidence, and defense attorneys know this. Could have gave him 10, could have gave him 20.
He is making shit up.
But something tells me that the prosecutor doesn't like him.
See, something tells me. Mike is full of all of these opinions.
And something tells me that the judge doesn't like him either.
Oh, the opinions. Okay.
If you notice here on this screenshot, 4/16/2001, defendant's election to have jury assess sentence. Well, in Texas, it's a little different. You can have the defendant gets to choose. Do you want the jury to prove guilt and the judge to impose a sentence, or do you want the jury to do both, or do you want the judge to do both? When you put in this motion, you're considering pleading guilty.
What?
So, April 16th, 2001, he was considering a guilty plea already. People will go for the jury to impose the sentence because he will admit guilt, but then they will try to do a sob story like whatever, drugs, military, anything like that. And they will try to
It is all assumptions.
pity the jury into giving them a lesser sentence. It's also a valid defense in the state of Texas too. Google that. And it's not just the SA charges that would be traumatizing. Okay, the two separate SA charges would be two separate testimonies from the victim. The weapons would be one as well. And when a minor victim testifies about, assault with a deadly weapon, they have to bring up threats, fear. They have to relive the situation again.
Are you
So not only it's not just reliving the situation one time, it is reliving the situation multiple times across a jury trial. That could be multiple days. I agree with you, Nikki. So the plea happened before the scheduled trial. The trial was set for August 21st, and that was probably it. I mean, that was probably the day that they were going to go to trial. And the plea happened 7 days before that, on August 14th. The timing, I was told, is purposeful. The prosecution would use the narrow window of time that's left before the trial, which 1 week is one hearing. You're not going to be able to, most of the time, have a hearing a day before trial.
He's making this shit up right now.
Face a plea or be destroyed by a jury.
You would know, Mike.
Prosecutors negotiate pleas after the victim witness preparation and testimony practice and mental health evaluations.
Oh, Mike, ChatGPT, shut the fuck up. You supposedly talked to a DA. Come on, Mike. Get to your point. God, I keep moving it forward because he's just not talking about anything. Come on. What's eye-opening? I'm still waiting for the eye-opening.
Detectives are trained to protect and shield minor victims of sexual crimes from testimony.
Oh, really? Oh, wait a minute. So that's what Texas judicial system does. So it's not important if somebody actually did the stuff and they have ironclad proof that somebody essayed a child, they would rather let this person out without going through and filing the charges on the person and making them do their time in prison and registering. And registering as a offender. So he's trying to say there was enough evidence that Mr. T did this with DNA, which sounds pretty open and shut to me. But instead of that, they decided to go with a lesser charge. That makes absolutely no sense. No sense. Let me read what's happening in the chat here. Probably. I agree with that, Weirder. Let me see here. Teresa, did you mean to request a box? Hey, T, if you're able to, can you again address the thing about the contact with the victim, please?
Yes. So we both worked at the same nursing home. I as a CNA, she a housekeeper. She caused a scene one day and we exchanged words.
Were there ever any charges or anything?
No.
Okay.
Their objective to not re-traumatize them. And if you Google that, it's very true. It's extremely rare.
And what did T say in a video, Pastor Petty?
I said I talked to her.
Oh, okay. Does that clear it up, Pastor Petty? And that the essay happened, the victim told you?
That never came out of my mouth.
Prosecutors in Texas to let anyone under 17 endure invasive sexual assault questioning.
Are you reading Chat GPT
Many defense
again?
attorneys will cross-examine and publicly shame them in the courtroom to traumatize them further in an attempt to either win at the trial
Chat
or
GPT working
use
overtime.
their messed up words as a way to win an appeal. Minor victims often shut down. They can have panic attacks.
Oh God, Mike, stop. Jesus.
Oh yes, I did say that she said that he was a registered sex offender. I did say that.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I did say that she was saying he was a registered offender,
Which he's not.
which he's not, which is
Exactly.
why we exchanged words.
Okay. Does that clear it up in the chat? Does that clear that up, Pastor Betty? I never heard it, so I don't know what, what was said or what wasn't said. Okay, let's go on here. Mike, Jesus, you're chain smoking there based on your COPD. Woo!
It absolutely is a charge. It's multiple, actually. It's also multiple for him, too. I heard that in their live, but yeah, I don't care about any of that. I care about the fact that he is a high-level violent offender who did what he was indicted for and received a mercy plea to protect.
And where's your proof, Mike? Again, nowhere in any of those criminal papers does it say that rather than putting a victim through a court proceeding, we're dropping the charges. It doesn't say that anywhere. T, did it say anywhere about, is there anything that what is it called, that discusses the DNA?
No.
But DNA was taken, and did your husband, well, you weren't with him at the time, but was there something that said that the DNA did not match, or?
He got back the results, and they read them out to him while he was sitting in jail.
So based on it, I'm assuming the DNA did not match. So they could not, they could not hold him as guilty for that. Because now here's a question: if you know this, was there DNA there was other DNA that was found?
Correct.
Now here's a scenario that I talked about yesterday in my live, and I don't know if you heard it. So he dropped her off at her friend's house, right?
Correct.
Was it a male or a female?
Male.
Is there a possibility that there was something that might have happened between her and somebody else? And then
Yeah.
mom decided that, she was going to press charges because she was pissed off at what happened with him leaving. And, got a whole bunch of charges that hypothetically she could have just trumped up on him.
Possibility.
Mm.
Victim can testify. That is what people should know. What kind of person he is.
It's a nice helicopter in the background, Mike.
Virginia, no. The original police report is not available.
I'm going to fast forward here because it'll take
Or will I even try? The plea protected the victim and secured a guaranteed prison sentence. There's no scenario.
Does somebody know
where?
Does somebody know? Because I don't know enough about this. Is there a difference? Is there a difference worded in court documents if a charge is pled down or if it is dropped completely? Like let's say there's four charges. Okay, we know that he pled guilty to one, so there's 3 other charges out there, and based on what I saw 3 charges were dropped. 3 charges were not pled down. Am I accurate with that, T?
Correct. Each charge was its own charge. So he pled to count 4, and the other ones were dismissed.
Okay, and it says dismissed, right?
Yes.
It didn't say pled. Would it have said pled down or something? I don't know.
I don't know that.
Does anybody know that? I mean, because if it says dismissed, doesn't that mean dismissed? It doesn't mean there was a plea deal. It won't say that there's a plea deal. So then how do you know if it doesn't say there was a plea deal? Why on some it says there was a plea deal and on some it says dismissed? Because to me, doesn't dismissed mean they're not charging you with it in any way, shape, or form? So people are saying that if something is dismissed, he's still guilty of it. That's what some people are trying to say. Yeah, because I mean, based on what I know in Connecticut, if something is dismissed, it means there was not enough evidence to further try to prosecute somebody with it. Charges were dropped. Every state is different. True.
Any of these charges were dropped for any reason other than its inclusion in the plea deal, which is a negotiation. And the state put compassion for the victim and protection for the minor.
So, listen, I don't know. I don't claim to know a lot about the justice system, but I find it very hard to believe that there are people insinuating that the prosecution had enough evidence to prosecute and charge somebody with essaying of a minor, but they decided to just dismiss it and wrap it into some type of a plea deal where he only got 9 years. That doesn't make any sense to me. And if that's the case, let's say it was a plea deal, wouldn't they still make the person register on the offender registry? So you're saying that the state of Texas doesn't protect people, minors that are SA'd, and they don't give a shit about that and would rather be able to make a case against a aggravated kidnapping rather than protecting people from SA. I mean, that just blows my mind.
A lot of details on what they have to testify about here that I'm not going to read. They have to do it in front of strangers, lawyers, and the person who assaulted them. If the state can get a guaranteed felony one,
Mike, Chat GPT, why don't you tell us what the DA said? You know, your friend who was the DA for 12 years. Can you do that? Hold on, I fast forwarded a little.
People use when they have nothing left. He didn't have a viable defense in court, and that is not a viable defense in public.
He didn't have a viable defense in court, but he had DNA evidence that showed that his DNA was not there.
He will automatically lose most all custody battles. He will be disqualified from adopting, fostering.
Chat GPT at its best. And what's the point of that, Mike? Adopt? Do you really think they want to adopt children? Really? Chat GPT is failing you, buddy. Stick to the facts, please.
If he has children, he will be subject to supervised visitation.
Oh my God. It's whining. I'm fast forwarding through this.
Assault charges get dropped all the time to protect victims. Most people equate no registration with no sex crime.
Let's hear.
So they weaponize people's lack of legal knowledge. They use it as a shield because they can't defend the actual facts. An offender who kidnapped, assaulted, threatened, traumatized a victim, and pled guilty to a violent F1 cannot argue the facts. So they argue the label.
Okay, yeah, Mike. Chat GPT working
the registry
overtime.
Was an advisor.
Hold on, I'm not going to listen to him read Chat GPT. Why is he Chat GPTing everything when he talked to a DA? That's what I want to know. I would really like to know that.
The label. The plea is a negotiation, and the crime is what actually happened. And that is what people misunderstand about plea deals. The crime is what happened.
Right.
The plea is the negotiation. And the registry is a part of that negotiation when it involves things like this.
But you know what you're forgetting, Mike? What you're forgetting about is what the disposition was. You still are not saying that. What was the criminal disposition of all of these charges? He pled guilty to one of the 4 charges. You keep forgetting that. Because I am saying exactly, okay? If Florida Man was in this same position, I am saying exactly what his supporters would be saying. His supporters would be saying, well, Mike didn't do it because he wasn't charged with it. And if he's not charged with it, they didn't have enough evidence for it. Mike was charged with 4 things, but he only pled guilty to 1, and 3 of them were dropped.
Oh wait, what's Gravity saying? Grammy D, take a box.
Oh, Grammy D.
I don't care if it was 100 years ago. You also know that he's still threatening violence against women, an essay against multiple men. Mush, Amanda's husband, me, violence against Amanda twice, violence against...
Mike, you have made so many. You have said so many things that you were going to do to people on this app. You said to somebody that you were going to go to their house, and I believe your words were this was going to be the person's last live on TikTok ever. You said that you wanted to find out information on nieces, nephews, grandkids, grandparents, dead or alive, and you were going to put out all this information on people. You've put out false defamatory information on so many people. Which is a track record of what you do. But something that happened 25 years ago, and there's people that are butthurt. Because a husband stood up for his wife from the continual bullshit that people put out on a live time after time after time. And now you're salty because finally he said something that you didn't like against you.
My mother, I don't really care, but still, that is the intent. This was 25 years ago. Those threats were, what, last week? Lying to people on TikTok.
Yeah.
His wife's lying to people on TikTok.
Oh my God. Wait, did he just say lying to people on TikTok? Tell me he just did not say that. Oh my God.
You kidding me? Nothing. Their ego can be hurt all they want, but you obviously showed no rehabilitation and no accountability taken because you're still mad about you doing it. You're mad about getting caught. And T is mad about you.
Hey, T, tell me something. Amanda had said, oh, well, he threatened me with something, or, Mike saying, oh, he threatened me with something. Were these threats, did they happen prior to them putting this information out?
Yes.
Okay, so that has no impact on what he's talking about right now, making it sound like Mr. T threatened them because they put this information out.
Correct.
Wow, interesting, Mike.
Amanda did that shit. So now she's got to stick with her decision and, go down with the shit. Blame the victim, exactly. I don't like any of it.
Blame the victim. No. No. If they're saying that this happened, okay, which according to every single document I've read, the charges for the essay were dropped, okay? But if they say this happened, and then you look at the paperwork and the prosecution did not follow through on the charges, who's blaming the victim? Blame the prosecution, because they didn't feel like they had enough evidence to push forward on those charges. Nobody's blaming a victim. If you don't like the turnout of the criminal case or the charges, whose job is it to try those charges? It's the prosecution. And again, if there was DNA evidence that linked Mr. T to it, do you really think they wouldn't have prosecuted? I don't get it. I just don't get the reasoning of these people. I don't get it. Blame the prosecution.
that much at all until she blamed the victim. Yes, T and her husband is mad that people found out, but people needed to know.
No, people didn't need to know. It was not necessary. But
well, that's why I got mixed up and not the name.
Right.
Oh God,
okay.
Nikki.
I was just kind of worried about that, and I know a few other people were.
Yeah, Nikki, nobody cares about what you say. Snark, show your receipts, by the way. I know you're listening. Show your receipts.
And he pled guilty to felony one, aggravated kidnapping.
He's just going to keep repeating this shit over and over again. So there's really nothing else. I don't believe there was enough evidence for a conviction. That's why they offered a plea deal. My question is this, though. What was the plea deal based on? You know? They didn't have enough evidence to charge with the SA. And again, when you look at all those documents, dismissed, pled guilty. There was no reason why this information needed to come out other than, again, you have two women that were very disappointed in the end of a friendship. And ever since that information has come out, all they've been doing is going live and trashing on the people. That's it. That's it. I'm reading the Discord right now, by the way. Grand jury charges formally called an indictment of the formal accusations of a serious crime issued by a grand jury after a prosecutor presents evidence showing probable cause. This process is a preliminary step in the criminal justice system and is distinct from a trial which determines guilt or innocence. Once a grand jury issues an indictment, the case moves on to a court trial. Right. Exactly. Oh, I have the documents that FM showed today. Let me see here. Okay, so judgment on plea of guilty or nolo contendere before court waiver for jury trial. Okay. Happened on that date. Attorney fee, August 14th, 2001. This case was called for trial. The attorneys for the state and defendant and the defendant all personally appeared and announced ready. The defendant, heretofore arraigned, agreed that the evidence may be stipulated in writing in open court. All parties and attorneys, with approval of the court, agreed to waive a trial by jury. The charging instrument was read, or its reading duly waived. Hold on, let me get to the next page. And the defendant entered thereto the plea shown above, and the court finding that the defendant is mentally competent, that the plea was free and voluntary, and having duly admonished the defendant at the consequences of said plea, including the range of punishment for the offense, and that any recommendation of the state as to punishment is not binding on the court. and the defendant having stated an awareness of the consequences of said plea, said that the defendant has not been misled or harmed by the court's admonishment, persisted in such a plea, and the same is by the court received and now entered of recorded upon the minutes of the court and the plea of the defendant herein. After having heard all the evidence and arguments of counsel, the court is of the opinion and therefore finds and adjudges the defendant guilty of the offense as charged and that is as set forth above, the same having been committed on the date shown above and is charged in the charging instrument, and that the defendant should be punished and confined as above determined, and that the state recover of the defendant all costs in the prosecution expended, including any fine above shown for which let execution issue. It is therefore considered by the court that the defendant is adjudged to be guilty of the offense as found by the court and set forth above, and that the defendant committed the offense on the date set forth as charged in the instrument shown above, and that the defendant be punished as has been determined and be confined to the place of confinement shown above for the term of time shown above, and that the state of Texas do have to recover as said defendant costs of the prosecution, blah, 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 to be and the order adjudicated guilty of the offense set forth above, and the defendant is hereby sentenced to confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Defendant is given time for time served. Aggravated kidnapping, count 4. So that was, I'll show you. Let me see. Let me see where that is there. Date of the offense. Aggravated kidnapping offense. Convicted. Count 4, aggravated kidnapping. Enhancements. Use of a deadly weapon. The term is now 9 years. Credited with 286 days. Now, I don't know. I don't know if Rem knew about it. I don't know if anybody knew about it. I mean, that would be something I would not be privy to. I'm sorry, I'm reading some stuff here. So, yeah. Yeah, T, somebody said, are you okay? I know this has been hard on you.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, listen, you know what? I'm gonna use Mike's words here. You know what? Everybody, look up case law, okay, in Texas. Look it up. Do your research on it. Can I read where the other charges were dismissed? I would have to look through. Hold on. Give me a minute. I'll look to see if I can find it quickly. This is interesting. Let me read this. This is interesting. A case dismissal does not automatically mean a plea deal was made. A case can be dismissed for various reasons, including insufficient evidence or a judge's ruling, while a plea deal is a specific agreement between the prosecution and defense. However, a plea deal can result in a dismissal of certain charges. Dismissal. Prosecution. A prosecutor may dismiss a case if they determine there isn't enough evidence to proceed. Dismissal. Defense. A defendant's attorney can file a motion to dismiss, which a judge may grant if arguments are successful. And the reason is a dismissal ends the case without the defendant being found guilty and can be a favorable outcome for the defendant. A plea deal. Agreement. A plea deal is an agreement where a defendant pleads guilty or no contest to a lesser charge in exchange for the prosecution dismissing the original more serious charge. Result. This is a way to resolve a case without going to trial, and the dismissal is condition of a plea agreement. Outcome. The defendant is still entering a plea and accepting some level of responsibility, but it is different from an outright dismissal. Key differences. Dismissal. Charges are dropped by the court or prosecutor, often due to lack of evidence or other legal reasons. Plea deal. The defendant agrees to plead guilty to a different, often lesser charge, and the original charges are dismissed as part of the agreement. Here's my question. If you are the prosecution and you have a DNA sample of the defendant who is charged with SA and they match the DNA and it does not match, would you continue to charge the person with SA, or would you drop the charges and dismiss them because you don't have enough evidence? Or turn it around. If the person's DNA is on the SA victim and you're the prosecution, would you throw away the case just to accept a plea deal from somebody to get them in prison? Hold on, guys. I'm looking up to see here. Hold on, guys. I'm looking up some stuff here. I cannot find, I'm looking through emails right now. I can't find the page I want to find for the charges that were dismissed. I could see the ones that were, I could see the one that he pled guilty to, but that's it. I don't see. Let me check here. Yeah, I'll have to look for it. So T, when I find that page that has the charges in terms of what was dismissed and all that, do you mind if I post it? And I'll block everything out that needs to be blocked out, even though it's been put out there
Okay.
already. I will block it. Is
Okay,
that
that's
okay?
fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I will post that. I'll have to look through because I have a lot of stuff. I'm not going to sit here, while I'm live and do that, but I will do that. Again, look everything up. Look everything up, and you know what? When I post that information, Teak, is it okay if I leave the case number on there so people can look that up if they want?
Absolutely.
And where is the best? And I know people can go online, right? Isn't this stuff available right on the county website? Because I think I heard you say that.
Yes, it's Montague County.
Say,
Montague, some people pronounce it Montag County.
so it's Montague.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, guys, Montague, and what should they look up?
His name.
May I
Or the case
on here
number.
so people?
Oh, do the search. Oh, I forgot how to do it. New
I'm sure they
search
can figure it
or
out.
yeah,
So they can do that once I post the case number.
absolutely.
Okay. And I will put that out there so you guys can do that, okay? And you read it and you decide. And, if you don't have a former 12-year DA that Mike has in his back pocket to talk to, do the research, on Google, you know? The reason why I did this today is because, again, I wanted to point out the absolute hypocrisy of Mike and everybody over there. They're the ones who sit there and they say Mike is innocent because those are only charges. You're innocent until proven guilty in this country, until you have your time in court. And this is a guy who's running from the law, who, if he's innocent, why isn't he going back to Florida and facing these, but he's not. He's still running from the law. But these people will, believe him and support what he does and say that he is innocent until proven guilty. Yet, an entire court process. He did the time for what he was charged with and he pled guilty to, with other charges being dismissed. They're going to nitpick every single part of those court documents, which to me makes absolutely no sense. And again, that's coming from somebody who absolutely 100% did a judge dirty by lying when he had racketeering charges on him, because there was him and two guys involved. I believe it was the Walmart card heist. And rather than getting racketeering charges on him and admitting that there were two other people involved, he lied to a judge and said he was the only one that was a part of it. And he took full responsibility for it. And because of that, he had a plea deal, so he wasn't found guilty of racketeering. So listen, do your own research. Look at everything. Mallory, I'm still waiting for your apology when you said there was no warrant out for Mike, by the way. I mean, it's been like 2 months now, so, woman up, lick your wounds, and admit that I was right. So, are there any questions or anything else? Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath. Listen, Mallory used to have a good platform. I'll give her that. He threatened to SA2 and slap another here on TikTok. Okay. How many people on this app have threatened to physically harm people? That's good. That's your opinion, Christina. I respect that. And it's my opinion that she used to. Hey, she can have her opinion. That's cool. I have no problem with that. Listen, just like there's people that like me and people that don't like me. There's people that like Florida Man and don't like Florida Man. There's people that like Mallory and don't like Mallory. You're always going to have people that like you and people that don't like you. That's just the way of the world. It happens in real life off the app and it happens on the app. I'm reading the comments right now to see if there's any questions. T, thank you for coming up.
You're
I
very
appreciate
welcome. Thank
it.
you for having me.
There was just, there were just some things that, I wanted to put out there. And, since Mike is putting out a lot of information that I don't believe is accurate because he's basing it on opinion and not fact, I'm trying to put out as much of the fact as I can. Okay?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I know that it's like not for me, but it's for the truth, and that's all I can ask, and I truly appreciate that.
No problem. Take care.
Thank you.
I agree, Fairy Tale. And like I said, you know what? I will post the case number. T, if you're still here, if you can send that page so I don't have to go through all of the emails and everything that I have. If you can send me a screenshot of where it says things were dismissed and all that, I would appreciate it, and I'll redact it and I'll circle the case number so people can look it up by themselves, you know. And at that point, you can base your opinion on the facts that you see. You know what I mean? As Florida Man says, don't listen to him, but a majority of the people over there will still listen to him. I'm telling you, base it on the facts that you see. But other than that, I'm going to wrap it up. If Rico Suave goes on today, I will stream him. He hasn't been on for a couple days, which has been nice. But if he goes on, I will stream him later. Other than that, everybody have a wonderful day. Do your research. Ask questions. And you know what? If you're going to ask questions, ask somebody in the know. Okay? Ask somebody in the know. Don't ask somebody who does all of his research on ChatGPT and has some ghost DA that he supposedly spoke to for 2 hours. And never once said, oh, well, the DA told me this. Because take a look at all of the false information that he puts out on a daily basis. Everybody have a nice afternoon. Mods, thank you so much. I need to go fix my Lego hair now to make sure that, it's coiffed properly according to Florida Man's guidelines. And I need to go fix my plastic sheathing walls downstairs because they're getting a little drafty. It's cold. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you for listening. And thank you, people that came up to talk. I appreciate it. Take care.